Let me begin by saying that I never anticipated finding myself in this situation. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when we least expect them, and it was during one seemingly ordinary day that I stumbled upon a truth that shattered the foundation of my marriage. I discovered my wife's infidelity through a notification on her Apple Watch while I was innocently cleaning the kitchen. At first, I couldn't believe what I saw. It was as if time stood still, and the weight of those words crashed upon me like a tidal wave. I was filled with a mix of emotions: disgust, hurt, and betrayal. How could someone I loved and trusted betray me in such a devastating way? In the immediate aftermath of that shocking discovery, I made the conscious decision to keep it hidden for almost 2 full weeks. I wanted to gather my thoughts, process the pain, and understand the best way to approach the situation. It was during this time that I reached out for support and advice from others who had been through similar experiences. Armed with the evidence, I finally confronted my wife. The conversation quickly escalated into a tumultuous back and forth. She was defiant at first, attempting to shift the blame onto me, but beneath her defensive facade, glimpses of remorse and sorrow emerged. Her tears were a stark reminder of the emotions at play, leaving me torn between anger and a lingering desire to salvage our relationship. In a moment of vulnerability, she expressed her regret and promised to cut all contact with the person she had been involved with. Her remorse, however fleeting, gave me a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could work through this dark chapter of our lives. As if seeking a fresh start, we embarked on an impromptu trip to Arizona, hoping that the change of scenery would facilitate the healing process. It was a place she loved and had visited multiple times with the other man. Initially, she seemed genuinely remorseful and willing to make amends. But as the days passed, her tone shifted, once again placing the majority of the blame on me. By day 3 of the trip, she grew upset, not because of her own actions, but because I hadn't initiated intimacy between us. I was emotionally unprepared for such demands, and her increasingly antagonistic and defiant attitude only fueled my frustration. Despite the mounting evidence and the well-intentioned advice I had received, I found myself unable to put my foot down and initiate divorce proceedings as suggested. Instead, we continued our tumultuous journey, holding on to a glimmer of hope that flickered like a dying ember. During this time, we continued to communicate daily, although our interactions remained shrouded in a limbo state. We walked our dogs together, shared meals, but everything felt off, as if we were just going through the motions. Any delay in my response would result in her questioning my intentions or assuming something was wrong. It was a tenuous dance, each step laden with confusion and uncertainty. In January, she proposed the idea of taking a break, renting an Airbnb approximately 50 minutes away from our house for 2 months. She was blunt about her lack of remorse and insisted that it was my responsibility to change in order to make her happy. I acquiesced to her request, albeit with clear guidelines in mind. We agreed that seeing other people was permissible, but she had to refrain from contacting the person she had cheated with. Over the following months, we found ourselves entangled in a twisted web of interactions. We talked and texted every day, walked our dogs together, and even had dinner on occasion. But it all felt wrong, as if we were caught in an emotional purgatory. The double standards and inconsistencies became increasingly difficult to bear, eroding what little hope remained. One incident in January exemplified the strain we were under. She showed up at our house unannounced, requesting my help in loading something into her car. Despite having an important work meeting scheduled, I dropped everything to assist her. Yet she grew angry when I informed her about my meeting, playing the victim card and leaving me feeling dismissed and taken for granted. With Valentine's Day approaching, I made plans to celebrate and show my commitment to our relationship. However, she abruptly changed her mind, claiming to be ill. Determined to salvage the occasion, I prepared homemade lobster mac and cheese, along with flowers and a stuffed teddy bear, and surprised her at the Airbnb. Unfortunately, due to her work meetings, our conversation was cut short, leaving me feeling unappreciated and questioning the inconsistencies in her behavior. As time passed, our encounters became less frequent. I discovered evidence suggesting that she had returned to Arizona with the other man for a week in late February. further cementing the truth I had tried so hard to ignore. Then, out of the blue, she announced her return from her hometown and gave me just 3 days' notice to vacate the house we had once shared. I relocated to my parents' old home, finding solace in the fact that they had recently moved and had yet to sell it. In the midst of this ongoing emotional turmoil, I questioned my own hesitations and why I continued to prolong the agony. The evidence of her ongoing communication with the person she had cheated with became harder to ignore, even as she remained oblivious to my knowledge. To her, I was still in the dark about everything that had transpired after December. The weight of my indecision became unbearable, and I sought advice from a lawyer. It was time to face the inevitable and take the necessary steps toward divorce. Although it felt daunting, I knew deep down that it was the only path forward. As I reflect on this tumultuous journey, I'm struck by the complex emotions that have consumed me. Love and trust were replaced by betrayal and anguish, leaving me with scars that will take time to heal. But I am also reminded of my own strength, my resilience, and the power to rebuild my life. The road ahead may be challenging, but I'm determined to sever the ties that bind me to this toxic relationship. I deserve better: happiness, trust, and a love that is unwavering. It's time to close this chapter, heal from the wounds inflicted upon my heart, and embrace the promise of a brighter future.